how are we going to do against the Chinese in the Western Pacific, which is a matter of sooner rather than later in terms of taking Taiwan?
Well, that's coming down the pipe really soon, too.
What if they have reverse engineered something that we don't know about? They have surged. They've become the largest navy in the world. They want to flood the Western Pacific with thousands of what they call a tritable, all-domain, autonomous system. They're covering stuff up. I don't dismiss anything now. I talked about the science and technology aspect of what we could discover by looking into UAP more. That's just incredible what we could find. But then there's this maritime security aspect. And think about this. Okay, we know we're seeing objects like the USS Omaha saw an object go in the water, a UFO. I told you about these other incidents like in Canada. And then there's other reports and classified information I know of well of overhead imagery that have seen these things. But so if these things are basically roaming at will in our water space, what does that say about our maritime security? So think about this. Navy submarines, they are incredibly vigilant in not interacting with the bottom when they can. I told you about those two collisions, and other submarines and objects. They have these detailed procedures they call water space management whenever they're operating in a training area or an operational area. And they also have this protocol they call Prevention of Mutual Interference, PMI, WSM, PMI. And they are religious about it. Of course, because this will ruin your day. We've had submarine accidents in the past, like the Thresher and the Scorpion. We don't want to do that. Plus, there are nuclear reactors on board. We don't need those things contaminating the water. All sorts of reasons to do our due diligence and not having submarines inadvertently hit something. And but these things, and I mentioned that submariner who I talked about in his observation, they are roaming at will in our water space. And if we don't even know the full extent of how they're operating in the water space, how are we going to do against the Chinese in the Western Pacific, which is a matter of sooner rather than later in terms of taking Taiwan?
Yeah, I think that's coming down the pipe really soon too.
Yeah, absolutely is. I mean, you see what they're doing. They're preparing for a long haul. They're doing everything that you would expect them to do in terms of energy stockpiling, building coal plants, all these things that they need to be ready for if we impose sanctions against them, preventing energy supply and other trade issues like that. They're preparing for it. All the open source reports show it clearly.
I don't know how we would prevent energy supply. How would we prevent energy supply? I mean, they've got the lithium mines in Afghanistan that we've abandoned. They've got lithium mines all over Mexico. They've got pretty much of
Iranian oil flowing in.
Iranian oil, Russian coal.
Yeah.
Aren't they getting, I mean, it seems like they've got that pretty much.
They're going to do fine.
Do you think any, let's say that does kick off.
Which I don't want.
You think we're going to see any of this new technology become exposed if that were to kick off?
That's interesting because highly likely. Well, and here's what some people say, if there was that kind of technology in the hands of the government or a contractor being UAP technology, we would have already seen it on the battlefield. And I'd say that may be partially valid. First of all, from what I understand, we've not been very good at reverse engineering. We've tried, but this is just from some sources. And the other aspect is that I don't know if we would have deployed it in what we've been involved with currently.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah. I don't see
an application.
What would we have deployed it up against?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And how would it have helped?
Yeah, no, certainly not in Iraq and Afghanistan. But China could be a different thing in terms of undersea capabilities. That's what's going to be very interesting.
For us or for them? Undersea capabilities?
Well, both, because think about this. What if they have reverse engineered something that we don't know about? Now, after I left the government, I didn't keep my clearance, so I don't know of anything. But they have, from the time I left the Navy in 2017 to now, they have surged. They've become the largest Navy in the world. That's daunting.
Yeah.
In a very short time.
Yeah, I think it would be I mean, I think it would be very interesting. I mean, I hope we don't go there, but if World War III kicks off or a China, U.S., Russia type Iran war kicks off, I mean, I think we're going to see some new technologies get unveiled.
Yeah, that'll be, well, I know what's already happening, and it's not necessarily being withheld, and that's drone technology. So there's an interesting thing.
Space.
And space, yeah, exactly. The thing, that's a field I'm steeped in and do for my consulting, is ocean drone programs, and that's really advanced in a huge way. And that's what's interesting is, okay, you asked me earlier, okay, what should be done? Well, we need to explore more of our ocean. We need to consider UAP when we explore it. But, and how are we going to do it? Well, we currently have ships, satellites, and we have a good amount of drones. A lot of companies, a lot of government agencies like mine are using different types of ocean drones to monitor and measure ocean properties. And that is just expanding rapidly. And in fact, I just read about Australia getting a very large ocean drone, a UUV, uncrewed underwater vehicle, that they were able to build rapidly and are going to be fielding. So that's an area that's going to proliferate. And that can be brought to bear in looking for more undersea UAP. And should be. It's less expensive. Ship time is very costly. And the technology is rapidly advancing. And in fact, I wrote an article in the U.S. Naval Institute Proceedings about this. I said it was titled something like "Ocean Drones: A Revolution in Ocean Robots" or something. And but I kind of chronicled the history of ocean uncrewed systems. We used some targets, I think, in the 20s, surface vessels that were uncrewed for aerial targets, and then I think in the 50s. University of Washington did the first uncrewed underwater vehicle or autonomous underwater vehicle to go into the Arctic ice, and then it's just exploded after that. And right now, and regarding China, the DoD has initiated this program called Replicator, and some of my companies that I work for are going after it. And to prevent Taiwan from being invaded, they want to flood the Western Pacific with thousands of what they call attritable all-domain autonomous systems. So kinetic things that can autonomously go and just saturate any kind of attempt to invade from the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's interesting. So that's just caused all of the industry in the U.S. and elsewhere to just start scaling up big time in terms of using autonomous systems. And I think these can all be employed for looking at the ocean too in a way that will make it, again, much more less opaque as it is and hard to understand.
I mean, going back to seeing maybe some technologies become unveiled, I mean, I got a couple of questions. I didn't even know how to structure these, but so I'm just going to fire them off randomly. But, you had watched, you had mentioned that you had seen the UFO whistleblower series I had.
Yeah.
What did you think about the gentleman that was in Antarctica as a firefighter that was talking about that neutrino laser?
Yeah.
You're the perfect person to ask about this.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know. I wasn't tapped in or read into anything involving that. So I don't know. I don't have firsthand knowledge. But here's what I could tell you is certainly in the last few months, the more I'm learning about what has been covered up and developed, if you will, or both, I don't dismiss anything now. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to take anything at its face value, really. And like your friend Michael Herrera and what he observed, with some paramilitary force from an agency we don't know, and with a UAP and et cetera, I would have dismissed that last year, but not now.
Yeah,
the things I'm seeing and the way that we're just not acknowledging what we're doing.
Well, the reason I'm asking about the neutrino laser in particular is weather. Weather manipulation. We've seen all these things that used to be kind of conspiracy-ish are now kind of hitting the mainstream. Things like, I mean, I remember thinking it was crazy talking about chemtrails from airplanes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Let me tell you about my morning routine. I wake up, I have decisions I need to make. Am I going to train? Am I going to go to work? Am I going to be stressed out all day? And what kind of tea am I going to use? Usually I use a chai. Now, what I do every morning is I put Bub's collagen peptides into my tea, along with some MCT oil. And it gives me the best shit of my entire life. Yeah, you heard it. The best shit of my entire life. Let me tell you more about this stuff. You've heard me talk about their collagen peptides forever, but this stuff, the MCT oil, goes in my tea every single morning. It's real brain and body fuel backed by science, not vibes. It's made with grass-fed butter and fast-acting MCT oil from coconuts, which sounds kind of weird until you try it. And suddenly, you're awake and not pissed off at everybody. And if butter isn't your thing, relax. They've got a vegan version too. MCT oil gives your brain quick fuel, supports digestion and gut health, helps curb cravings, and keeps your energy steady all day. I dump it in my tea with my collagen, stir it around, and I'm set. I trust Bubs because they don't cut corners. Their products meet serious quality standards. And the MCT creamer is NSF certified for sport, which means it's clean, tested, and not sketchy. And here's the part that I love the most. Bubs was founded in honor of Navy SEAL Glenn Bub Doherty. 10% of all profits go to support veterans as they transition back to civilian life. The stuff we talk about all the time on the show. So when you buy Bubs, you're also supporting the guests that have been on this show. If you want to upgrade your morning routine and take literally the best shit of your entire life, then you need to go to bubsnaturals.com/SRS and use code Shawn for 20% off your order. Clean fuel, no crash, and the best shit of your entire life. bubsnaturals.com/SRS. And people would tell me, oh, I think it's hormones being released. It's something to reflect the sunlight off the earth. Well, I mean, now, a couple weeks ago, we just saw here in Tennessee that we're banning chemtrails.
Oh, that's right. I saw
Over the
that.
state. Mm-hmm. There was the Hawaii wildfire stuff, which, I don't know how true this stuff is either, or if it's complete BS or if it's real, but it was, there was this conspiracy that none of the blue roofs in Hawaii were burnt. Have you heard about this?
I did not hear about that.
Yep. And so, and every time one of these things hits, like the wildfires thing, that episode about the Antarctica laser, it always gets like this boost. And so the latest one was because he was saying that these lasers can cause earthquakes.
Oh, okay. I missed that part of it. Wow, really?
Yeah, he says that these lasers can cause earthquakes somehow. And then the latest one that happened in Taiwan was like the latest boost where it got brought up again. And
I have something to say about that. Earthquakes, not necessarily this laser. There's two things I see from my experience in the government. One, they're covering stuff up, and I get it. Certain things we don't want adversaries to see, but either withholding things from Congress or in the public that should not be withheld, that's wrong, and that's why I'm speaking out. The other thing I see, too, is that sometimes it's not necessarily purposeful. Their government's just not necessarily super competent in areas. And in the case with earthquakes, so I work with a number of real innovative, cutting-edge companies. And one of them has found that if you monitor the ionosphere, they call it space weather, you monitor the ionosphere, what has been shown, and people have published on this, that before a big earthquake, when plates are starting to buckle, it's basically like a giant semiconductor. You got a lot of metal and energy and it produces in the ionosphere a super big peak in a thing called total electron count. And so the ionosphere gets all energized. And
what is the ionosphere?
Oh, it's a upper part of the atmosphere where you don't have, there's not really air. Okay. And so and you see so you have this electromagnetic field that gets generated, and you can see it from space with certain sensors, and you can monitor it. And in all these studies, before a big earthquake, you see these peaks in the ionosphere. I won't say it looks like the aurora borealis or northern lights, but it's kind of like that, where it's visible in data.
You're seeing this before the earthquake?
Before the earthquake, okay, before the earthquake. Papers have been written. If anybody's interested, they should Google earthquake precursor INSPIRE, and it inspires the acronym of a European Space Agency study on this phenomena. So I saw this company that I'm working with called Precursor, and they have this capability with satellites and other sensors to monitor this and potentially produce an earthquake early warning capability. Okay? Earthquakes cause the amount of devastation on the order of a world war. Okay? And think about the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. So why would we not look at every possible means to warn on earthquakes? Oh, so I go to the U.S. Geological Survey and I say, hey, how about funding some R&D on this or whatever, just have a meeting. And they immediately responded categorically, no. Our policy is that earthquakes cannot be predicted. And of course, they define prediction of having some precision with respect to time and location and magnitude. And I wanted to say, wait. Don't sit there and look at your little narrow criteria. Open your mind and think, maybe we can provide an early warning service. Hey, public, high probability of an earthquake is not 0 today, or something like that. And they just refuse to look at it. And what I mean by that, my point is that there are a lot of what I think are straightforward ways we should be moving forward in certain areas, and the government is just stuck in its own little way of doing things. And this is just the case in point. So, Japan's looking into it now, and we're going after Japan. And even California, with some of their messed up politics, at least Northern California is looking into possibly working with us in this company to do some prototyping, if you will.
Interesting. And the government just blew it off.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want to warn anybody that there's an earthquake coming.
We're all seismologists. We're not going to think outside the box. Here's another analogy to that thinking is, so weather forecasting. When you look at the damage of a hurricane, also on the order of a war, it is important that we provide good predictions. And we do, actually. Now we're really good at weather forecasting. We can days in advance, multiple days in advance, sometimes even a week, we can have a very accurate understanding of what a hurricane's going to do. There's areas to improve, but still, compared to the last 50 years, we're doing great. Why is that? Well, we became multidisciplinary. We decided to take ocean observations and learn how they heat up the atmosphere, possibly like the Gulf Stream, and contribute to things like hurricane intensification. And then we also added some components about the ice. And so we started looking at the whole Earth as a system rather than just the weather or the atmosphere, knowing that's really what's going on. And so I've asked the USGS, why don't you think about the Earth system and not just your little rocks in the crust, but the whole thing? And they just refuse to do it.
Man. I mean, what do you know about weather manipulation?
Yeah, that's something I've studied. They call it geoengineering, and it's physically possible. And even there's some studies being conducted right now, because you have a lot of people that certainly these alarmists over climate change, which I don't dispute is occurring, but I think a lot of people are overreacting. They're looking into that, like we might need to do it to keep some of these changes from occurring. I'm currently not convinced. It can be done, but I don't know if it's smart because there's all sorts of feedback mechanisms in the atmosphere and the ocean, the Earth system, that can occur. And what if we do a little bit of that and then things go wild? I think we need to research the hell out of that a lot more.
No matter where you're watching the Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this at all, anything, please like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, head to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave us a review.